Hello guys, so today I just thought I'll share with you some of the challenges I've failed in the prop farms, because it's always important to just share both the ups and the downs. I've shared with you a lot of my winning days, my big moments in trading, passing challenges consistently, getting consistent payouts. But there's always the backstory. There's always the other side where you probably have lost a couple of accounts before you got funded. And for me, lost that many challenges as compared to the industry standard where you'll hear someone saying they've lost 10 to 15 challenges before they actually got funded. I think I've blown only about maybe even less than 5, or if there are too many, maybe I've blown maybe 5 challenges of my own that I took some time back because of a couple of reasons. Number one, my trading style is not that aggressive. I'm very conservative, as you guys see. Even right now, it takes me 3 months to pass both phase 1 and 2, sometimes even 4 months. There's one challenge which I did for over a year, of course, because I did some errors, but long story short, my approach is more conservative. I focus on having big capital but trading it slowly. So I don't go around buying 5 challenges on a monthly basis, trying to gamble around and see whether I'll pass or not. I take challenges professionally. I take a lot of time on them. That's why I don't have a lot of blown challenges. But either way, I still have about 3 challenges which have failed here, and I want to share with you. All of the challenges you'll notice are from about 2023, because since then I've not been blowing challenges. The account that I was, terminated with recently with Alpha Capital last year, that was a termination, and it was a false termination. It's not me who failed the challenge because of, breaching the rules or anything. And I think I did a whole video about that. So in terms of, I've taken a challenge and I've blown because of the daily drawdown or the max drawdown, it's not something that I've done in a while. So this is way back in 2023. I lost an account with the Fivers, as you can see. I think it was a $24,000 account. If I'm not wrong, I don't remember very well, but you can just do the math. You see the drawdown here was 6%, and this is the reason as to why I breached the account. And my equity is about 22,557. And just to make some things clear, back then most prop firms didn't have unlimited days. However, the Fivers was one of those companies which had this model where you could trade your account for, was it 4 or 5 months, or maybe even 6 months before you actually pass it, and you still had like a huge time window as compared to the typical firms. And to clarify, this wasn't a challenge account, this was a funded account. This account was already funded. I had already done a payout on this account of about $180. That was my first payout actually with the Fivers, because the Fivers has been one of my favorite farms from way back, even before I started doing consistent YouTube videos and I was just trying to pass prop farms and trade funded companies. The Fivers is what I use. So I done already a payout on this account, but eventually after a while I blew it up with the maximum drawdown, and this model doesn't exist nowadays. Nowadays the Fivers have this model called the high stakes challenge, where I'm currently funded like 100k, and with the high stakes it's the typical 8% phase 1, 5% phase 2, such things. You have a 5% daily drawdown, 10% max drawdown. Back then the high stakes didn't exist. The high stakes model started either early last year, if I'm not wrong. So in 2023, this type of funded account, their drawdown was like 6%. Their leverage was also very small. Like I think it had like a 1:6 leverage. So even before I got funded on this account, I had to take very many trades because you can't risk too much. Even risking 1% was a problem with the 1:6 leverage, because the best I could risk was maybe 0.5 to 0.6%. The second challenge that I failed, 2023 again, you can see here, this was a company called My Funded FX. Oh, it's also important to mention some of the companies actually collapsed, some of them completely rebranded, and here's an example. So My Funded FX currently doesn't exist, but they rebranded to something called Secrest Funded. Here's their website. This is the same My Funded FX that you've seen here, but then they changed their branding, their name, etc, their website, so they now go by Secrest Funded. But if I go to log in, actually you will see my dashboard still exists, even though I took it at the time that it was My Funded FX. So this is me signing in the dashboard. Let's try to see whether I'll find the account details. I haven't logged in here in probably a year plus, because I failed this account in 2023, guys. I don't even know where the account should be. Maybe under the stats. Let me see. Yeah, so here it is. This is the account 234,140. Same account I think you will find here. You can see it was a 100k account. This was probably one of my first 100k accounts, because back then in 2023 I was more focused on trading small accounts. I was trading more of the 25k accounts back then. It's actually only until last year that I was able to scale to 6 figures, and from then I've had a couple of back-to-back challenges which I've passed and increased my funding. But in 2023 I was focusing more on the 25k accounts. So I bought a 100k account here on My Funded FX. Actually, My Funded FX back then was one of my favorite farms, and I'll tell you why. This was the period where unlimited time was not a thing yet in prop farms. Anyone who can recall, in 2023, every prop farm had a 30-day limit. However, My Funded FX was one of the most popular farms that introduced no time limit. In fact, when they came up with the unlimited time, it almost seemed as if their model was going to be unsustainable, because back then it wasn't a thing. Every prop farm, the standard was you need to pass phase 1 within 30 days, phase 2 within, I think, 60 days. And 60 days for phase 2 might be quite simpler, but 30 days for phase 1 is not easy, considering again the target used to be 10% for phase 1. So My Funded FX was the first company, or at least among the first maybe 3 companies, if I can remember, which came up with a model that had unlimited time, and they grew up massively. I don't know what happened to them nowadays. I think they've had a couple of issues because of just management and stuff. It's very common with prop farms. A prop farm can be doing very well today, then in the next 2 years maybe they have some issues and people don't fancy it that much. But My Funded FX was a very popular farm. It blew up the whole of 2023. For the next around 1 year period, it was a very big farm in terms of even the traffic. If you could use the website which showed the analytics, it was literally among, I think, the top 3 farms in terms of traffic, for a very simple reason. Every trader wanted to buy an account with them because they now had unlimited time. So I was among the first traders to take an account with them in 2023, a 100k. Then I blew it up because of hitting my maximum drawdown. For this account, the maximum drawdown you can see was 8%, so I was locked out at $92,000. So maybe just to check their dashboard and see, here's the account. Do you still have the overview? No, I can't see anything. They've deleted all the details. There's no trade history, there's no stats, there's nothing. But on the overview you can see that I lost $8,000 on the account. I went into a drawdown. We can't see the trades I took, unfortunately, which is quite understandable because it's many years backwards. They've rebranded etc. The account has not been active for over 2 years. So here's the max loss. Their minimum trading days, I don't know whether they had, the minimum trading days was 0, but you can see I traded the account for 51 days. That is a period of close to 2 months before I blew this challenge up. And basically that's all the information I think we can find here. There's nothing else to see. The highest this account went in profit was 2%. So my highest watermark simply means this is the highest balance that I ever had in this account at one point, which was $102,000, equivalent to 2% of the account. Then from the 2%, as you can tell, I went back into a drawdown and I eventually blew this account. So 2023 for sure was quite a tough year for me. I was still doing payouts, by the way, just to be clear, but they were not as huge as the payouts I've done because I didn't have very big accounts back then. I had just transitioned from trading my live account into prop farms. I was still using my current strategy, but not much. In fact, I had more than one strategy back then. I had a strategy of supply demand where I would trade sometimes things like Euro and ZD. At the same time, I still was working on my current strategy of UJ and CJ, the one that see me using right now. So my trading was profitable, but all over the place a little as compared to the growth that I've had over the past years and where I am right now. But I still remember this account very well. It was probably my favorite by the time I took it, just because of the fact that it was having unlimited time, and a $100,000 account was quite expensive. You'd spend close to $450 to $500 just to purchase that account. So back then that was a lot of money, especially if a prop firm is telling you you have 30 days to pass or you lose that account. But still with unlimited days, as you can see, I was not able to pass this challenge. So let's look at the last prop firm challenge that I failed in 2023. Now this is a company which is non-existent. It goes by the name Smart Prop Trader. It wasn't a very popular firm, but it was somewhere among the top 10 at that point in time. So 2023 on August 11th, I blew this account. Is it the same date I blew the other one? Let me just confirm. So this was on August 14th. This was on August 17th. So August in 2023 was a very bad month for me, as you can see. I believe I most likely had a terrible losing streak. Blew 3 challenges in 1 month. So Smart Prop Trader doesn't exist. If you try to click their website right now, it takes you to, I don't know, another broker or something. I think they probably rebranded to something else. I don't know what this is, but whatever it is, they rebranded. They completely closed off their prop firm. So as a prop firm, they no longer exist. This was a $10,000 prop firm account. I remember very, very well. It was one of the accounts which had a limitation of the 30 days. Back then, it's only My Funded FX that had the unlimited days. Every other prop firm, also the Fivers didn't necessarily have unlimited time, but they had a challenge which you could take up to 6 months. The downside of the 5ers is that challenge had a 1:6 leverage. So yes, you can take up to 6 months to pass, but then the leverage is 1:6. You can hardly risk 1% per setter. And even after you get funded, you can't make a lot of money with it because you are forced to risk, I don't know, 0.4%, 0.5%. So 5ers was the other company. But long story short, these are the companies, all of them, it was just by default. The limit was 30 days. So I did fail Smart Prop Trader. For what reason? Was it a breach of the Max Jordan or what? So I cannot see a specific reason, but there's a high chance I might not have failed this challenge because of the drawdown. Because if it's the drawdown, they should have indicated here. There's a very high chance I failed this because 30 days ended and I was probably in drawdown. So there's a high chance that is what happened. Then I blew up this challenge. Now, to be fair, if I do the math, the 100K account on the, how is it called? On my funded FX would probably cost me about $500. Assuming there's a discount, maybe I spent like $450 on my funded FX, currently Seacrest funded. The account on the 5ers, I don't know that I should count the challenge fees because for this one I actually got funded and actually did some payouts on that account. So the challenge fees automatically I had recovered it, so there's no need to count this one. But then on the Smart Prop Trader, I lost about $80 or $70 on the 10K challenge. So the amount of money I lost on challenges was like $520. From that time, already within the next 1 year, I've done about $17,000 in payouts, you know, just one farm alone, funded next, only funded next. So I'm just using that one example to paint for you a picture. But even if I've lost $520 in challenges, and then in just one company we've done $17,000. That company alone, we're looking at a ratio of what? 17,000 divided by 520. We're looking at a ratio over 1:32. So the amount of money I've spent on challenges versus the amount of money I've got out of the PropFirm. Again, that is not all the payouts I've had. I've just given an example using Funded Next because that is what I document a lot, and you guys have seen the transparency on that account. So I'm just using that example alone to show you that even with that, I've spent like $500 in challenges or $600 to make way over $17,000, which makes a lot of sense. And what I'm trying to show you in this video is that you will have failed challenges. There's no problem with that as long as you have an edge or as long as you're learning from your failed challenges and you keep improving on the next challenge you take and implementing those right things. Then it's just a matter of time before you start to be consistent in terms of passing them and getting those payouts. One thing you want to make sure is you learn from your failed challenges. The problem with many traders is they fail a challenge because of a mistake. They buy a challenge next month. They're still trying to gamble their way to pass it by luck. Sometimes you get lucky, you pass phase 1. You get to phase 2, you fail. You end up blowing like 10 challenges before you pass one. Even after passing one, you pass, then you don't get a payout, you blow it up. Or you get one payout, then you blow the account. So for average traders, if they do their RR on prop firms, for most of them it's negative. Meaning the amount of money that most traders have spent to purchase a challenge versus the payouts they've made doesn't make sense. As compared to the math I've just shown you here, where I've been able to make 32 times what I've lost with the failed prop firm accounts. So if you can't do this math and find it to be this positive, it doesn't have to be a 32R. If you can't see that the ratio between the amount of money you spend on challenges versus the withdrawals you make is significantly positive, it means there's something you are clearly doing wrong and you need to work on that. But bottom line, don't be afraid to fail that challenge. It can happen sometimes, and failing a challenge doesn't mean you're a bad trader. Just make sure you are learning from your mistakes and you're improving on every next challenge you take. I think another reason why I didn't fail many challenges is because I just didn't have money to waste around, because these challenges were freaking expensive back then. You buy a challenge for $500, then within 30 days, if you've not passed phase 1, your $500 has just disappeared like that. So next month again, get another $500. So because of that expense, I was also not in a position to afford buying a lot of challenges. That's why I didn't blow a lot of them. But I thank God, because during that process, I was able to learn a lot, and it's the same things I teach you guys in my channel, and it's the same things I implement. That's why I do have the consistency, especially in the PropFirm space. So I hope you guys have seen my journey as well. The bad days do exist, the bad months do exist. We always look at it as the learning cost. Just look at it as an expense towards your journey. The same way you invest in yourself, use money to maybe buy a course or buy something, buy a book which will help you to get better, or use money to probably learn a skill. So just look at these failed challenges as the cost of learning or the cost of running the business. It's what I had to lose along the way to get better and make sure I implement, better things in how I approach the market, in how I trade. So that's it for this video. Feel free to share your thoughts, your opinions. See you next time, guys. Peace.